Shalom Akim, Yahweh, Bashem, Yahushai, Bashem, Kwakadash. Double honors and salutations to the elders and apostles of the mystery of the world. Akim Akwa, through the four corners of the earth, holding on sincerity and truth to the gospel of the Lord Amashak Yahushai in these days and times. Brother Nasha, DC Camp, short lesson for the hopeful elect. Yeah, so always remember. We are still in the land of our captivity. You know, that's one thing you have to accept. You know, you always got to call upon the Lord, Bashim El-Shai, Bashim Kadash, to get us out of here, man. Because our people's just catching all types of L's. Because Babylon is just draining. It's draining their energy level, man. You know, stress, the demands of our people is just, it's like a commodity that they cannot live without. Baruch 3 and 8. Behold, we are yet this day in our captivity, where thou hast scattered us for a reproach and a curse. Yeah, so this is just a glimpse of the type of reproach we have to deal with, man. Property taxes, man. You know, the fleecing of our people, man. You know, you don't get no services at a certain level of satisfaction, but your taxes just keeps on going up and up and up and up and up. All right. For a reproach and a curse, and to be subject to payments according to all the iniquities of our fathers, which departed from the Lord our power. So this is the result, you know, of our people, you know, fighting, striving against the Lord Habashim Shai, you know, coming against the law, statutes, and commandments of the Lord. This is the pain we have to endure. You know, there's the ridicule we have to deal with. Isaiah 45 and 9 says, Woe to him that striveth with his maker. Let the potsherd strive with the potsherds of the earth. Shall the clay say to him that fashioneth it, What makest thou also? All thy work hast thou no hand? If I read it properly, Isaiah 45 and 9, woe unto him that striveth with his maker. And that's what people have done throughout several generations, man. They've always given the prophets of the Lord, Yahweh Shema Shai, Shema Kakadash, a hard time. You know, they've killed the prophets, they've made their lives miserable. And then it says, Let the potsherd strive with the potsherds of the earth. So our people need to find their level, they need to know their level, you know, but they seem not to understand that, man. There is no arguing. There is no arguing or debating with the Lord. Shall the clay say to him that fashioneth it, What makest thou? Or thy work he hath no hands. So, you know, we have to understand, man. This is a byproduct. You know, the oppression that we're receiving is a byproduct of our sins against the Most High, and also reveals the system of the enemy. You know, since our people didn't want to live under the system of righteousness, we had to live under the system of the enemy, and now our people are mourning because they feel the pinch, they feel the squeeze under the system of the enemy. All right.
Rob Judy, people may have sticker shock. The Cook County Treasurer's Office has been analyzing the new tax bills and says that citywide, the median residential bill jumped more than 16%. That's the biggest increase in at least 30 years. The Treasurer's Office says city spending increased and there are fewer fewer commercial spaces to pay their share of the pie. Treasurer Maria Pappas says there has been a sharp drop in the value of downtown commercial buildings, paying about $120 million less this cycle. That's because of higher vacancy rates over the years.
It went down in a landslide, and it's coming back like a snail, slowly, very slowly, and not fast enough to handle these residences who are carrying the burden of it.
Yeah, so that's what happens when you got to deal with the establishment. If you don't want to be under the laws of righteousness, you're gonna have to deal with a treasurer like this, man. You're gonna have to deal with all the cockroaches of tyranny. That will just be there as gatekeepers. To pull funds out of the pockets of the people. Because you can imagine when you get your so-called income tax refunds and all that stuff, where do you think it's gonna go? It becomes a target, of these tax assessors. That's what happens, man. Get your federal income tax refund. They want it. So that's one of the tricks that they use, man. You get money from one side, the other side takes it. So they're basically it's a pickpocketing operation. It's a pickpocketing operation. The taxes just keep on going up and up and up and up and up and up. So it's a total slap in the face. It's a ridiculous system that a lot of people have to deal with. You want to have ownership of property in Babylon. These are the type of madness you have to deal with. The corruption and all that stuff. It's just rampant. All right. So, hey, the big boys are pulling the plug on the people at the bottom, man. So if you're not getting anything back substantial as per social services, what's the use of taxes going up? So that's how they take over neighborhoods. This is one of the tools of gentrification. It's one of the tools of redlining. They could say, well, folks are having a leg up, getting a ladder to build themselves up. But at the end of the day, man, you have to come face to face with the tools of the enemy. No matter how productive you are, you still have to go through the needle, the eye of the needle, the chaos of this society. You have to understand it's going to be a daily confrontation so that you do not fall behind, because the system is willing to scoop you up, scoop up whatever you have, your properties and everything, including your physical being, your physical entity. So now, what rights do you have? When a lien can be levied against your so-called belongings. You pay property taxes, you pay sales tax, you pay for insurance and all that stuff. You pay for utilities. So you just imagine when you have an issue of eminent domain. So it's just it's like a lose-lose situation, man. It's a zero-sum game, man. That's why, when you read from the book of Micah 2:10, it says, "Arise ye and depart, for this is not your rest, because it is polluted. It shall destroy you, even with a sore destruction." So all the elderly people, man, that are living off their pensions and social security benefits and all that stuff, and their 401ks and stock dividends, it's being siphoned into the coffers of cockroaches, man. The property tax assessor.
Many of them are unrented. Many of these places are unrented. The taxes went down. What happened was the residences ended up picking up the bulk of these tax increases.
And the hardest hit, predominantly black and brown communities on the south and west sides. In West Garfield Park, bills soared 133%. North Lawndale saw a 99% spike. And in Englewood, taxes climbed more than 80%. The treasurer's
But then you have AI centers, AI data centers popping up, all over the country, man. So you just wonder, man, what's happening? What's the priority of these people, man? So it just proves to you, man, that this place is just going down the crapper. That's just how it is, So that's why it's important to realize that whatever you gain in this place, man, just count it as dung, just as the Apostle Paul, mentioned. You don't want to hold on to worldly possessions in this place. That's why, we read from the book of Philippians, chapter 3 and 8. Ye doubtless account all things but loss for the excellency of the knowledge of Hamashiach Yahushai, my Lord, for whom I have suffered the loss of all things, and do count them but dung, that I may win Hamashiach Yahushai. So you have to know exactly the state of the battle, the condition of the battle. Basically, doing whatever you can, to establish a proper residence for yourself while you're able to do the work. But at the same time, you already know it's a loss, regardless of how long you keep it, because you need to have a roof over your head for you to be able to do the work of the Lord and function properly. You can't just be out there in the wilderness. You need to have a roof over your head. You need to have certain amenities. So whatever you're able to sustain from your labor and put into the system that's not really going to benefit you in the long run, you understand that part. And you still know that you have to get the work of the Lord done. So you have to live with both choices. You have to live with the choices of taking the loss, and you also have to live with the choice of serving the Lord Hamashiach Yahushai. That's the balance you have to acknowledge. To making that decision. You have the decision you make for the flesh, for the world, and you have the decisions you make for the spirit. So you have to make sure that your faith is fully grounded, so that you do not get swallowed up by all this demise, all this sadness of our people, because it's a opportunity, to learn how our people fall through the cracks, man. All this generational wealth just evaporates, with all these tax sales, man. When a person cannot pay their real estate tax, that's it. Property tax, that's it, man. Somebody just scoops it up for pennies on the dollar, and then the drama begins.
as many of those homes have been undervalued before the most recent assessment, which is done every 3 years. So if you haven't gotten your bill, you can see it now and pay online. Taxes are due December 15th, but if you can't pay right away, you can set up a payment plan, of course, with it.
See, a payment plan. So when they lower the property value in your neighborhood, you can't really get a good price. You can't get a good price when you sell. But when you stay in it, they raise the taxes upon you just like that. So it just shows you it's deliberate, it's pure wickedness. That's why a lot of people, die cursing this place, man. They put curses on all these public officials, man. Curses and curses and curses. They curse them out, man. Curse. Because when you see these so-called public officials, man, you can see the energy of darkness. You can see the demons hovering around them, man. So you see the the the, the, the the pain and suffering of the people just hovering around them. It's as if that it's like a horror movie, man. That's why it's important. You gotta pray that your spirit, doesn't desire to be around all these cockroaches, man. That in all these gatekeeping positions in the government that drain the resources of the people. So you have to realize that, man. Every opportunity you get to move up the ladder is not always an opportunity for you, to be happy and be glad, because along the way, man, you're dealing with the forces of evil, forces of darkness, because that's what Esau's system is built for, man. It's not built to bring forth righteousness. It's not built to uplift the people. If the system is uplifting the people, you wouldn't have reports like this, man. It's like a deliberate attack, or we would call it an assault. And it's just one of the tools of genocide. It's one of the tools of oppression. Setting up a payment plan. Oh boy, setting up a payment plan. Why wouldn't the news reporter say, you know what, there needs to be a moratorium? There needs to be a freeze. That the property tax should not exceed 5%. Every 10 years. But now they're talking about payment. Set up a payment plan. Yeah, that's the hilarity of Babylon. So I'll get one more precept. The book of Proverbs, chapter 22 and 26, right, tells you, it says, "Be not thou one of them that strike hands, or of them that are sureties for death." Yeah, so you have to understand the type of situation you're getting yourself involved in, man. Because once you start owning real estate, put your name on the dotted line, you're accepting the consequences of things that can go against you. Even though you could use the tax code to help yourself out, but at the end of the day, man, you're in a race to stay ahead of it, because death is no joke, man. All the hard work and equity you've put into that home, all of a sudden, you're getting squeezed out of it, And then verse 27 says, "If thou hast nothing to pay, why should he take away thy bed from under thee?" So that's the pain, that's the situation a lot of people have to deal with. House could be paid off already. All of a sudden they fall behind on taxes, and all of a sudden it's a tax lien. Mix up in the payment system. The government agency messes up, and then they try to cover their behind by putting a lien on the property. So that's what a lot of people have to deal with. Property is already paid off. They're paying their taxes on a regular, but because of some technicality, they lose the property. So that's the issue we have to always prepare for.
Interest, there is more information on our free news app and our website, abc7chicago.com. But of course, these bills all coming out, you may have gotten them in the mail. If not, you can see them online. People are really struggling, and now this news where taxes are even higher, it's going to be tough.
Yeah, getting your bill about a month before it's due, too. It is not easy for a lot of people.
With all those delays. And then that second installment, of course, will be out, or that first installment will be out again in the spring.
One after another. And those are some really dramatic increases in those numbers.
A lot of money.
Thanks for looking into it, Jason.
Thanks, Jason.
Yeah, so that's what you're going to get. Traumatic increases. That's exactly what you have to look forward to in this system, man. traumatic increases, So property tax shock is just as bad as getting shocked by a taser, man. This psychological shock, man, it's just horrible. So that's the point of this lesson, man. We shouldn't get comfortable here in Babylon. This place is filled with bitterness. No matter how much smile and giggles they want the people to have on their face, it's just pain and sadness. Shalom.